Hello, this is ACI Course 1, The Principal Teachings of Buddhism. This is Class 6, Stopping Desire for Future Lives. Last class we began our discussion of renunciation. We learned what samsara was and how the 8 worldly thoughts keep us chained to cyclical life. In order to develop renunciation, we need to do 2 things. We need to stop our desire for things in our current life and stop desire for future lives as well. The main topic we covered last time was stopping desire for things in this life. We learned 2 meditations to help us. Meditating on how great our leisure and fortune is and how precious this is and hard to find, and also meditating on the certainty and unpredictability of life, meaning you could die at any time. This class we are focused on stopping the desire for future lives. In order to accomplish this, we will talk about the 4 principles of action, otherwise known as the 4 principles of karma. And we will contemplate the various sufferings of samsara, in particular the 6 problems of human life. By the end of the class, you will be able to understand the 4 principles of karma, know the 6 problems of human life, and also be able to identify when you have developed renunciation. One of the ways to stop desire for future lives, and also desire for things in this life, is to understand the principles of action, or the principles of karma. I often refer to karma as the law of cause and effect, since we don't have an English equivalent for the word karma, which is the Sanskrit word. Karma in Tibetan is le, just 2 letters, L-E. And we don't have a good translation of just like a word for that. There's no English equivalent. The opening line of the 4th chapter of the Abhidhammakosha says, "Deeds create all the worlds." Karma, as you'll see by the definition, can be substituted for the word deeds. Contemplating that statement will deepen your understanding of what karma is. Now, karma is a topic for a future course. But before we go into the principles, it seems prudent to give a little bit of background information, in particular the definition, which is karma is any movement of the mind and what it motivates. What it motivates refers to actions and words. So not only are our thoughts karma, but what they motivate is karma as well. And this is how karma creates all the worlds. Further, our thoughts create something that is neither mental nor physical. So we have a thought, which is the movement of the mind, and something that is created which is neither mental nor physical. And this power, and we often refer to them as karmic seeds, that is created has an effect in the future. This is a hard concept to understand. Let's have Geshe Michael go over it for us.
The act of thinking is karma. Lele tikte natake, lene sembo tende che. 4th chapter of Dharmakaya, opening lines. Any act of thinking is karma. And actually the definition of karma is the act of thinking. Lene sembo tende che. And what those acts of thinking inspire in your body and tongue.
How does such a twisted concept of karma get out there in the world when it's such a simple, clear definition?
In Tibetan literature and in Buddhist literature, the fact of thinking and the power created by it are sometimes also blurred together. They are separate things. The act of thinking is the mental stuff. The power that's thereby created, the seed which is thereby created, is not mental stuff. It's what we call something changeable that's neither mental nor physical. In case of Dharmakaya. A changing, non-mental, non-physical entity. Yeah, they sometimes blur together in Buddhism too, and when you're translating it into English, sometimes you have to choose which way you're going to translate it. Karma meaning the action that you do, or karma meaning the energy thereby created, which is going to affect you later.
Michael, doesn't it also incur results?
Never. But in common English, it does. Well, that's my karma.
I want to emphasize that Geshe Michael emphasized that referring to karma as an effect or as a result is improper. For instance, to look at someone in poverty or in riches and say that's their karma is not an accurate use of the term. it is more correct to say that it is karma that creates their poverty or circumstances. In general, every movement of the mind is karma, so we're creating karmic seeds by everything we do. Predominantly, we have a lot of neutral seeds being created. Good seeds and bad seeds are also created, and we refer to good to mean any seed that's going to give us a pleasant result, and bad seeds is any seed that's going to lead to an unpleasant result. So it's not a judgment word, it's just, pleasant and unpleasant. With all that said, let's turn to the 4 principles of karma. When we do one of the 3 types of karma, in this case I'm referring to the 3 doors, thinking, speaking, and acting, we create a karmic seed. So when we do one of these 3 types of karma, we created a karmic seed, and that seed is neither mental or physical, but it has these characteristics. The first principle of karma.
Please say leng. Leng means karma. Leng means definite, fixed, certain.
This means that like actions produce like results. An action or thought will give you a result that is of a similar type. This is just like Jesus said, as you sow, so shall you reap. You cannot get watermelons out of bean seeds. If you plant a bean, you will get a bean. If you have a pleasant thought, it will lead to a pleasant result and never to suffering. This probably makes sense to most people, but in everyday living it doesn't seem to be true. For instance, someone tells the truth and gets punished, or vice versa. A lie leads to escaping punishment. The problem with karma is that there's this delay between the action and the result. Karma is very subtle, and we don't know and can't know what karmic seeds are ripening to bring about effects. They say that the subtle workings of karma are more difficult to perceive than emptiness itself. So we must use our ability to reason and perhaps rely on authorities like our teachers in order to come to an understanding and acceptance of karma. Further, as we practice it, we get enough understanding to say, okay, I'm going to try this out to see if I can see results using intention. And as we do that, we'll find that it will substantiate itself. We can intellectually see that it makes sense that like will only produce something similar. And also, I accept the principles because authorities like Buddha and Jesus, who have what I would like, they have characteristics I would like to have, they have followed these principles or have taught them. The second principle of karma.
Lei. Say lei. The results are bigger than the cause. Lei means karma. Pel means to increase. Chewa means bigger. Bigger and bigger.
This means that the consequence or results are greater than the original thought or deed. Just like regular seeds, karmic seeds grow tremendously before they fruit. If you plant an acorn, 50 years later you have a huge oak tree. If you steal a pen, in the future someone keeps taking your stuff over and over and over again. You get the idea. It's not an eye for an eye, it's 10 eyes for one eye. You take one eye, you have to pay back in tenfold, or something to the extent of that. So it's always greater, the result is always greater than the original deed, and it could be in magnitude, it also could be in frequency. This belief is held by other spiritual traditions as well, so we've got another confirmation here. Perhaps you've heard of the sevenfold rule. What you give, you get back, multiplied by 7. It's definitely a good return on investment. The third principle of karma.
Say le ma chepa. Le means what? What does ma mean? It's not mutual. No. Okay. Chepa means did. Past tense of to do. Did. Did. Done means and. Ma chepa. Ma means what?
Not something.
Not. Che means to touch, make contact. Okay? Che. Che means when two things touch or make contact.
This means that one cannot meet a consequence unless they have committed a like action. Simply stated, if beans come up in the backyard, then there must have been some beans being planted at some point. If someone yells at you, then you must have done something similar in the past. I know the abuse I suffered as a child was the result of something I did in the past. Does that mean somehow I deserved the treatment I received, or that the perpetrators were innocent of doing what they did? No, what they did was horrible and unexcusable, and if they had not done it, I could have been saved from the fruits of my own actions. I may have been able to purify those karmic seeds before they ripened. Let me explain in a different way. Consider the beans again. If beans grow in the backyard, it means that bean seeds have been planted. The third principle states that in order to get beans, you must have beans. On the other hand, someone can plant beans and not have any beans grow. Or maybe the beans don't sprout until the rain comes. Not every bean sprouts at the same time. The conditions need to be right. So if I plant karmic seeds to be hurt by hurting people in the past, and then everyone on the planet decides to be kind and nice all the time, my seeds would never ripen. The conditions would never be right. So even my karma dictates even though my karma dictates that an unpleasant result should happen, the perpetrators provided the necessary conditions and, in a sense, had a great contribution to the result happening. It's never okay to hurt other people, and the perpetrators shot themselves in the foot by their actions. What they did caused suffering and will only lead to their own suffering in the future. The fourth principle of karma.
Say, le, chepa, chu, misawa. Le, chepa, chu, misawa. Le means what? What does chepa mean?
Good.
Yeah, karma, which is done. Chu sawa is a verb, it's an idiom. Take out this me, and chu sawa by itself means just go away. Chu sawa means just disappear. Mi sawa, mi means what? It will not. If you do a karma, if you commit a karma, it must have a result. It will never just go away.
The fourth principle of karma is that once a deed is done, the consequence cannot be lost. This can seem pretty scary. It means that if I hurt someone, then I plant a seed in my mind stream that could only result in pain and suffering when it ripens. The good news is we can outrun those bad seeds and we can purify them. As I just talked about in the last slide, in order for a seed to ripen, the proper secondary causes and conditions need to happen. If everyone stops stealing, then my seeds for someone to steal from me will have a hard time ripening. Just as a seed needs water and warmth, karmic seeds need other factors to ripen. When I say we can outrun them, I mean we can see to it that we take refuge and get on the track to Buddhahood. The path to heaven is heaven, meaning that as we start doing good with intention, our bad seeds will have a hard time germinating because so many of the other good seeds are ripening. In addition, we can also use methods to nullify the old seeds. The Buddha taught a method called the 4 powers. In this method, we first realize that we have done and how it will come back to hurt us and wish we didn't do it. This first power is called intelligent regret. In the second power, we reaffirm our commitment to act in a way that will lead to our liberation, which means being in alignment with the Dharma we've learned. And this is called taking refuge. The third power is we vow to never do the thing again, or we at least make a commitment to not do it for a reasonable amount of time. If it's unreasonable, to say, I will never do that again. So we say, I'm not going to do it today, I'm not going to do it this week, I'm not going to do it for the next 5 seconds. Whatever seems reasonable. We want to stretch ourselves, but we want to be reasonable. We don't want to add lying to our karmic seed bank. And then finally, we do a make-up activity. The best one is studying emptiness, but there are a variety of activities that are recommended. And like I said, this is a topic for a future course, so I just wanted to give you a little preview. So even though the action cannot be lost, it can be purified and destroyed. Indeed, there are stories of how the purification process may result in small, unpleasant things happening as the seed's full power is destroyed. For instance, instead of being killed by decapitation, one might bump their head and get a bruise. So in summary, we have the 4 principles of karma. First, like produces like. Second, the consequence, the result is always greater than the original action or deed. Third, we have to have done it. We have to have done the action in order to meet a similar result. And then once the deed has been done, we can't just lose the consequence, but we can purify them and destroy it. We're going to talk a lot more about karma in a future course, but just as a teaser, I want to tell you that the strength of a karma depends on a lot of things, including the object the action or thought is directed towards. A high holy being, if you're directing your action towards a high holy being, it's going to be a lot stronger than directing your action to something like an ant. Or frequency. The more often you do an action, the stronger the karma. If the action or thought is done with a strong emotion, whether that be deep gratitude or hate and anger, it's going to be a stronger karma. And then there's other characteristics of the actual action that will change the strength of the karma. In order to stop the desire for cyclical life, it is helpful to also talk about the sufferings that are inherently part of each person's life. And we're going to start off with the 6 problems, or sufferings, they can be referred to that way, of human life. The first is that life has no certainty. One can die at any time. Friends and property can be lost at any time. Truly nothing is predictable. If you can think of anything that is known with certainty in life, please let me know, since I can't find a thing. So life has no certainty. That's our first problem. The second problem is that we're never satisfied. When I got that job for $15 an hour, I thought that was great. For about 10 seconds, and then I wanted more money. It seems like it is part of the human condition to always be striving for more. We see it in our culture in the form of addiction and overeating and overspending. Again, I cannot think of a time when I wasn't trying to get more comfortable, whether that was financially, emotionally, or physically. This is a problem, but it's also a great gift in the fact that it's a great motivating factor to get us on the path to enlightenment. Our third problem is that we are forced to lose our body over and over again. My body is going to age and then die. I can't stop it. I don't have a choice. And that's as simple as that. That's a problem. And it goes hand in hand with this one, that we are forced to be reborn over and over. Many people talk about looking forward to death, anticipating that they will finally be free of suffering. Doesn't it say on our tombstones, rest in peace? Unfortunately, just moments after the first body dies, we are forced into a new one. No peace, no relief, no rest. Over and over, we got to be reborn. Our fortunes go up and down over and over. I used to think that rich people stayed rich, or that if you climbed to the top, you'd made it. But now I have the perspective of knowing people over a period of time, and I have noticed that fortunes and other things like health go up and down over and over again. Here again we see how uncertain and unpredictable life can be. And finally, ultimately, we are alone. No one can come with us when we die. No one can take our karma or really help us out. We have to do the work ourselves. I have noticed that Mormons have a special ceremony that will bind people together so they will be together in heaven. I was kind of surprised by this, but it shows how much of a suffering for people it is to realize that they are really alone and how desperate they are to try to hold on to the people that they love. So it's really a problem of human life. Pabonka Rinpoche also mentions in the reading the group of 8, meaning the 8 sufferings, and then the 3 sufferings. The 3 sufferings are suffering of suffering, which is just plain old unpleasant feelings. It's the backache, it's the feeling angry or gloomy without any real reason. The second suffering is suffering of change, which is basically the grief. It's pleasant, the feelings of loss when pleasant things end. So loss of friends, family, material items, anything we're attached to is the suffering of change. And then we have pervasive suffering, right? Pervasive meaning like always, everybody, at all times. And this is just basically having a body that's ages and dies. As soon as our body's created, it's already on the way out. So that's why it's considered pervasive. It's always aging. It's on this stream to its death. So we have the 3, the 6, and the 8 types of suffering. And we also have the 2 meditations for last class. And I'm sure you can come up with a personal list of sufferings or problems with human life. The point of all this contemplation is to realize that there is nothing here on earth that's worth it. That's what we need to get to achieve renunciation. Let's turn back to the root text by Jason Kappa to determine if we have found renunciation. Very simply, he tells us, when you've meditated thus, and feel not a moment's wish for the good things of cyclical life, and when you begin to think both night and day of achieving freedom, you've found renunciation. May you realize it now. So that wraps things up. Your homework, you'll have some questions. I think you have everything you need to complete those questions. Your memorization assignment is the second verse of the 3 principal paths, which goes like this. Listen with a pure mind, fortunate ones, who have no craving for the pleasures of life, and who, to make leisure and fortune meaningful, strive to turn their minds to the path that pleases the victors. The meditation assignment is 15 minutes each day. You do an analytical meditation on the 4 principles of action. So the 4 principles of karma. And be sure to remember to record the time and date of that meditation. So this completes our discussion on renunciation. This is a topic that we'll keep looping back around to and building on throughout the 18 courses. In the next class, we'll start talking about bodhicitta and what it is. We've done a tremendous virtue. Let's dedicate it to the benefit of all sentient beings. May they complete the collection of merit and wisdom and gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. Bless you. Bye.